it's still not merely symbolic, it's still very important because she obviously nurtures him during his babyhood. Without her, the human nature would not survive. And she's teaching him as a child. But of course there comes a point where he is no longer dependent upon her, and he's a entirely separate entity. But in those formative years, as all our mothers are, she was essential to him. And so we give her honour because of that. But we also give her honour, and we think the Protestants are very wrong in not doing so, because Jesus would insist that we would give her honour. Because I can't imagine there's a powerful man in the world, an emperor, a dictator, a king, who would really be okay if you just diminished his mother. In all of his subjects, his mother would be most important. This is
David is a perfect example.
Yeah, I was going to say, his son Solomon, Solomon's mother was Bathsheba. And when David dies, Solomon becomes king. And you go to Bathsheba to get the Bible talks about going to Bathsheba to get a favour from Solomon. She's the Queen Mother in Israel. And the Blessed Virgin Mary is the Queen Mother in the New Israel, which is the church. See, the church is, when we say church, we think of a building. But the church is actually what you should be thinking of when you think of Israel. That piece of land on the Eastern Mediterranean is old Israel, but spiritual Israel is potentially the whole world and is not soil in a particular geographical location. It is the entire human race which is willing to accept Jesus, just as Israel was that entire part of the human race that was a seed of Abraham, a physical descendant of Abraham. The church then is not a building, it is New Israel. And just as old Israel had a king, Solomon, and a queen mother, Bathsheba, so New Israel has a king, Christ, and a queen mother, the Blessed Virgin Mary. And we go even further back and say, just as the first human beings were male and female, so, and that's we're all from the old birth, the original pair, Adam and Eve. But now we are, as St. Paul says, a new creation. We are reborn anew, and that means we're born of Christ. But just as there's a new Adam who is Christ, as St. Paul says, there's a new Eve, and that is Mary. And there's reason to believe this, because in the book of Genesis, you've got the serpent who tempts Eve. Not Adam, he tempts Eve. And she gives into the temptation. In the book of Revelation, that's the first book of the Bible. In the book of Revelation, the last book of the Bible, there's a woman who's about to give birth to a child who's going to rule the world. That's Christ. And there's a serpent there ready to devour the child, because the child is going to redeem mankind and therefore destroy the power of the serpents. So we have this parallelism from the beginning of the Bible to the end of the Bible. Eve and the mother of Christ. It's hard to miss. If you're a follower of the 16th century religion known as Protestantism, you won't really like it that much. But it's a clear parallelism. And there's a promise in Genesis chapter 3 that there will be a seed of the woman who will crush the head of the serpent. Again, the book of Revelation echoes that, in that the serpent is waiting to take this woman's child. The only woman it could be is the Blessed Virgin Mary.